Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys in Africa. You know we love the Big C tribe. We love you in Canada, but Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south on a beautiful May the 2nd, 2018, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton is hump day down here.
Uh-oh.
And we're trying to figure out if that's the most useless day of the week. Because we just got past 2 days, and we still got 2 days to go.
Yep.
But think about it from this way, Charlton.
Yeah.
3 days from now is the Kentucky Derby, okay?
Yeah.
Lexington, Kentucky. There's 20 horses in that race. They give 5 horses a good chance to win it.
Yeah.
So there's 15 horses that's not going to be in the running.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so normally after the Kentucky Derby, it's a reason to have a big barbecue. And you know what happened after that Alabama-USC game.
Oh, man.
You know, they had to go out and find another white horse.
Yeah. You got...
The horse or two disappears after Kentucky Derby that wasn't in the running. No one saw where they finished or where they exited the track.
Oh, man, I hope you guys are not eating that horse meat. I hear it's pretty popular in certain parts of the world, Big C, so I hope you guys are not putting that as part of the menu of the restaurants you have down south. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So much going on, Big C, in the world of sports, world of politics. We have the great, I think, NBA basketball right now. It's just fantastic. I know they've had that slogan that NBA action is fantastic. It truly is. The Cavaliers going up north of the border and getting coming away with the win against Toronto that not many people thought would happen, especially after being fatigued. And then Golden State out here in the land of vibranium and honey, Big C, they get Steph Curry back. And he looked good. He had about 26 points. Draymond Green dropped 20. It looks like they found their swagger back. So, Big C, just your thoughts on something. Would you believe that I found out, I felt today I was out and about doing some work. I ran into a lady from Australia. Her name is Emily. And they're going to the FIFA World Cup's June, I think it's June 14th to July 15th in Russia. Would you believe I started telling her what we do? She said, Big C Sports, we listen to you. From Australia, the land down under, that good old girl says she listened to Big C Sports. She asked me, can she meet Big C? I said, I can call him, I'll see if I can work it out. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we got a lot of Aboriginal people down there.
Yeah.
When you think about it, they look a lot like us.
Yeah.
And so when you travel the world and, you think of the reach of the internet, the streaming that's out there, Charlton, it's limitless.
Yeah.
The only limit you have now in entertainment, Charlton, is what you have in just a local market.
Yep.
You want to reach the masses and have people understand what you do and listen and appreciate what you have. I mean, and this shows that our outreach is a day later in another country.
Yeah.
And that these people understand what we're saying and they appreciate what we're saying, Charlton.
Yeah.
Say, oi, mate. You can throw that out at them, so you have to learn a new song or something, Well, that's what you're going to have to do. But, I mean, it's a beautiful land down there in Australia.
Yeah.
Been down to the Australian Open, Charlton. Really hot down there, but excellent wine country over in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful place, beautiful people. And when you talk about a horse, it's not uncommon down there.
That's true.
Little horse, little kangaroo.
Yeah.
Little game, it's good for you. It's lean, it's not all that fat. So this is the thing you got to understand. I appreciate it. Just got to marinate it and season it right.
Well, ironically, she's a Caucasian woman. I'm just saying, all colors, all shades of color, brunette woman. And they were in Northern California going to a wedding, but we started talking about Lithuanian soccer and how that's 13,000 miles away from Australia. So her and her husband are going over there. I told her we'd give her a shout out on Big C Sports And so it's nice to know that people from the land down under are following Big C. They did mention that the last time some big, good-looking black dude showed up, they had some missing kangaroos, like they have the missing pigs down south. Big C, you want to be like Trump and plead the fifth, Big C. Your thoughts?
Wait, I don't know if Trump knows how to plead the fifth. I mean, he could be AKA diarrhea of the mouth.
Oh, man.
He loves to hear himself talk.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing that his attorney resigned today, said it's going to be effective at the end of the month.
Isn't that crazy?
John Dowd. And here it is. He's the one who leaked the questions. And I love what the president's response was. He said there was no questions in there, leaning towards collusion.
Yeah.
Yet there were 13 of them. So I don't know how well he does in math. Evidently, he does a little worse than what I do.
Yeah.
But 13 out of 42, I mean, that's a little better than 25%.
Yeah.
But he said there was 0.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure it out. Like I said, I'm not very smart. And evidently the president said he wasn't as smart as I am.
Well, maybe he just doesn't know what collusion is, Big C. That I thought it was, I gotta also.
Well, he could have thought it was Kool-Aid now.
Was he that?
He did watch Good Times years ago.
Yeah. Remember that friend you told me about that who said, who ordered the gratuity when they passed the bill, Big C, at the restaurant? I still think that's funny. The gratuity is something you pay, not something you eat. But again, Emily and your husband, thanks for following Big C Sports from the land down under. We love you good old girls down south. And when I say down south, Big C, that's really down south, Big C. Your thoughts?
That's going over the border, Charles.
Yeah, that's true.
But I wonder, are we going to put up a wall to keep those people from the southern hemisphere coming into the U.S.? All of them, I know we got trying to reinforce the wall down at our southern Mexican border, Charlton.
Yeah.
But what are we going to do, people south of there?
Yeah.
I mean, I look at that border, and I love the president's base. They're some of the most loyal people that you can get.
Yeah.
These are the kind of people you find at chicken fights and dog fights, okay?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
That's what they call recreation.
Yeah.
Hurting animals.
Yeah.
But, you stay and you put up a wall on the southern border.
Yeah.
And they said this caravan of people. Now, this is 150
Yeah.
people that were trying to seek asylum in the U.S.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody knows how to Google, but Google caravan.
Yeah.
That's not 150 people doesn't make a caravan. That's a group of people. You get that many people together in the backyard for a barbecue, okay?
Yeah.
You're talking about a caravan of people, thousands,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
But you're talking about putting $20 billion, not million, not thousand, $20 billion into a border wall to keep out a group of 150 people. We got teachers on strikes in states where kids are not getting their education, where teachers are not getting the funding for supplies or a decent income.
Yeah.
But you got a president and you got a secretary of education saying nothing about education in our country. You think about the last time that our president has held one of these rallies that he holds,
Yeah.
or even Sarah Huckabee Sanders speaking on behalf of education from the White House.
Yes.
They're talking about the president's agenda. Our fans and anybody in America who's willing to listen, when was the last time that you've heard the president talk about his agenda in making America great again, had education involved in it?
Yeah.
He's talking about corporate funding, corporate tax breaks, but he's never talked anything about education. So if America is going to be great and rise back to the levels that it once was, and was one of the leaders in education,
Yes.
that's what makes America great, is education, whether you're an athlete, non-athlete. Education is what will make you great in life.
Yeah, that's very true, Big C. And even in having a conversation with Emily, we realized that Great Britain released a lot of people that were in trouble in a sense, sent them down to Australia, and they created their own land. They migrated with the Aboriginal people. And again, this lady's Caucasian, and the fact that she follows a show where a lot of men of color are around the world very praised and admired, especially for athletic prowess, but there's a lot of beauty in a lot of people. That's why sun tanning is $1 billion industry. Big C, did you sun tan today to get that golden vibranium brown, Big C? Your thoughts, Big C?
Charlton, I go out there and lay on a snake like a rock.
Yeah.
Me and the snakes up on those warm rocks, feeling good. I mean, you got to realize what that does for the aches and pains in your body, Charlton.
Eating snake or suntanning?
There's a reason why snakes and alligators go lay on those warm rocks. And I kind of figured it had to be medicinal.
Yeah.
So I got out there and laid next to him.
Yeah.
I gave him something to eat before I laid down so he wouldn't be hungry and snap at me.
Yeah.
But we were all comfortable out there.
Yeah.
And that shot of moonshine didn't hurt me to relax.
Yeah, that's how you made him relax, Big C. I appreciate so much about the sports universe and how, people follow baseball and football, basketball, soccer, and just referring back to my friend Emily that I just met today by happenstance. Big C, you ever hear of angels? Like angels that roam around the universe, Big C, and sometimes you meet people, especially back in the day, growing up, you think of people that were like an angelic figure in your life, and you run across them, you don't know why, but you do know that when they show up in your life, good things happen. And oftentimes, when you think about angelic people, we think about some of the athletes, like Muhammad Ali. He was an angelic person. What he did back in the day, it still resonates to people to this day, Big C. I look at someone like Bill Russell. He was an angelic athlete, still alive, of course. And then someone like Billie Jean King. They were angelic figures in our society, but one of the most angelic moments, meaning it gave people belief in something great, was Al Michaels when that Russians played the United States in the Olympics. And he got that great slogan, "Do you believe in miracles?" And people can create miracles in our lives. And again, it's something that Emily and I talked about from Australia. Can you just touch on some things in your life where you've seen young people affected by athletes, or you've seen young people themselves become the athlete that inspired someone to believe in miracles? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, having spent a lot of my young years in segregation in America, and seeing how people have been so profound in standing up and allowing people to believe and live vicariously through them, even from the athletic realm. I mean, you can go back years before those individuals that you mentioned, and this is even before my time. You think about the great Jack Johnson.
Yes.
Probably the greatest minority athlete of all time, because you have to look at what he did in the era that he did, and his life was in peril every day.
Yeah.
And so he gave inspiration to people, Charlton, that were hopeless, saying that I'm fearless and I will go on here and fight for my beliefs in my country and myself and my family. He did that. You think about Joe Louis during World War II, the Brown Bomber, during that era of depression in America.
Yeah.
When minorities had no hope, Joe Louis was their hope. Here it was that he was doing something against society that backed minorities every day. It took everything that minorities had. Joe Louis went out and fought these people in the ring legally.
Yeah.
And won against all odds, Charlton. I mean, he was the hope of a culture.
Yeah.
That's how important he was as a figure. I mean, we can remember Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, the modern-day athletes, Charlton.
Yes.
Because we've had the multimedia that exposed them to so many and the world.
Yeah.
Even Joe Louis, you could never sing. You can only visualize him through a radio.
Yeah.
But we've had these iconic figures throughout time. Sugar Ray Robinson was one of them, Charlton, that led the path for minorities. And when we think about baseball, people will say Jackie Robinson crossed the color barrier, but many minorities didn't get a chance to see him. Minorities really got a chance to rise up in the sport when players like Hank Aaron, Willie Mays came along. And I was trying to think of the Dodgers, Don Newcomb with the Dodgers, Charlton, the pitchers, in that era when they were seen by masses in society and led inspiration to many minority youth.
Yeah.
We saw Bill Russell come along in college, the Olympics, the NBA, to become the iconic figure of the NBA, who did not know how to lose. And you think about the inspiration that gives people when you have a player that doesn't know how to lose. And you think about the Boston Celtics with 8 consecutive championships.
Amazing.
Led by minority players.
Yeah.
And so you think about a culture of people hitching their wagons to that, Charlton, and say, hey, this is our guy. This is our iconic figure, Charlton. And even prior to Ali, Sonny Liston was there.
Yeah.
And he held the world on his shoulders. Then Ali came along and took it to a new plateau, Charlton.
And when you think about that, and again, it's about angelic angels, just like meeting people who say, I know I met you for a reason. Have we met before? And I don't take that lightly, because just especially talking to Emily today, how did I cross her path? How did I cross the path of someone who was on a 14-hour flight to get from Australia to the United States? And then there were flights in between, but about 14 hours in the air plus layovers. But to have someone of all the sports shows in the universe, Big C, to have that conversation, and it talked about her and her husband going to the FIFA World Cups in Russia in June up to the July 15th. I think June 14th to July 15th. And we always say, for people who have access to the airwaves, you are always influencing people, good or bad. But you know what people want more than anything else? Like, I learned it from Walter Cronkite watching the news with my parents growing up. Just give me the facts. I can deal with everything else. When someone goes to a doctor, they want the facts. We can pray, we can hope, we can take medication, but we want the facts, and then we want a second opinion, because that doctor may be, one of those opioid subscribers, and he needs to do what he has to do to keep his pocket full. And that's why they say ask for a second opinion. And there are times we say you got to know when you're being prayed on. Well, sometimes it's synonymous. Prayer can be you go to the church and ask the pastor to pray on you, but sometimes that pastor needs money in the cup before he prays. When did Jesus ask for money before he prayed, Big C? But some people are so hoodwinked, they think they got to pay money to some pastor to pray to God. You can pray for yourself. Also, how do you know you're being prayed upon? You talk about those snakes that you guys get down south, Big C. How did that snake knows it's being preyed on, Big C, when you feed it the moonshine, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he's in a comfortable, relaxed state of mind. That's what friends do for friends. The outcome may not always be appreciated by both sides, but one side will always flourish from it, Charlton.
Yes.
And when you think about helping others out in society, when you look at what athletes do for people, Charlton, and have done for people in society, athletes don't always ask to be notarized when they're doing something. They do it out of the goodness of their heart. They do it because they feel that they've benefited in life. And so if they can help others along, I remember Ward Dunn, who set up a foundation for building homes for single mothers.
He's an amazing
person. He lost his mother, who was a single mother and a police officer in New Orleans, and she was gunned down while on duty. And Warren never thought to lose the message that his mother had instilled in him.
Yes.
Is to help those who are less fortunate. And so he set up this foundation as a player. And he still runs his foundation, Charlton, where he builds homes for young mothers that are homeless and stuff, Charlton. Give them their own home. The keys to their own home. When you think about that athletes give homes to people that don't have homes. And when you have a home, Charlton, you feel that you belong. When you can walk out into your own yard, not in an apartment complex, but into your own yard, Charlton. You can walk barefooted. Me, I go out there without things on at all sometimes. I just walk out there bare.
So be careful the snake. Be careful the snake you give some moonshine to when you walk around in the bare, Big C. Just be careful that the snake's not trying to bite you and feed you. That makes sense. He might be preying on you.
but you think about a lot of these food programs that athletes have set up. I know we always see them during the holiday times, during Thanksgiving, during Christmas. But they have these feeding programs all the time. Where they give back to the community. I still do that myself, Charlton. Every day I get on the freeway, there's always these homeless people that are standing along the side of the freeway. I feel the need, Charlton, and the compassion to pass food out every day. Every day I get in my car, I put together a little care package. Because I've been blessed to get to this point in life, Charlton. And I've had times when I didn't have enough to eat growing up. And we grew up that way, but we ate whatever was available. But I can remember my great-grandmother, because she lived close to a railroad track. And back in those days, we used to call them hobos. And these gentlemen would come by the yard, and a lot of times they just want a drink of water or a slice of bread. That's all they would ask for. Can you spare a slice of bread and a drink of water? And back then, we didn't have bottled water. We drank out of the hose.
Out of the water hose, yep.
Out of the water hose.
Yep.
So she would tell them, go ahead and get yourself some water. And she would generally make them a bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
And give it to them. Because she said, if you have, others should not do without. We don't have much, but I can't stand to see somebody hungry.
That is beautiful.
I carry that message, Charlton, every day. If I get in my car, I always make sure that I put together a bag of things that will have staying power. Even if it's some canned goods, something with those peel tops now, Charlton, I'll put that in there. I don't put perishable items in there, but I put stuff in there that they can utilize. If they just add some water to some things, some ramen noodle, whatever, I give it, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because I feel good as a person that I've helped somebody not go hungry that day.
That's a beautiful point, and you contrast that to what your beautiful grandmother did, to what Trump is doing, wanting to round people up to do God knows what, as opposed to giving them something to eat. And he's made it about color. And like this beautiful lady that I met today, Emily from Australia, she, there's this thing about Australians and the Aborigine and how they have their own form of Jim Crow back in the day. But she, as a Caucasian woman, and me as an African-American man, I had to also tell that all life came from Africa, and she knew that as an Australian person, that the reason that all civilization began on the African continent. People know that, scientists have known that for 100 years. But even with that said, Big C, the fact that your grandmother was so kind that she looked to feed strangers, and we have an administration right now that's looking to create division.
There wasn't a color barrier in those days, what she looked at, because we had all cultures getting off those trains and walking by the house wanting to use the water hose in the summertime when we were there as kids.
Yeah.
And so she would just tell them. But she would, like I said, when she would go in and make them a sandwich and give them something. And she said, we don't have much, baby, but they don't have anything at all. And, and so I feel that way. I think we're the richest nation in the world.
Yep.
But yet we're the most gluttonous nation and wasteful nation in the world. And people who listen to this program, wherever you are around the world, I mean, look in your cabinets at home. There are some products in there that you haven't seen for months.
Yeah.
And you're not utilizing it. And a lot of people throw away stuff every day. Think about it. I mean, go in your cabinets, look in there and see what you have that you haven't used for months. And I'm not trying to say feed a neighborhood. I'm saying just put together a care package every now and then when you leave the house. And as you get on a freeway exit or you exit a freeway exit, you will see somebody standing there with a sign, homeless, hungry, please help. Anything is appreciated. All you have to do is put down your window, hand the bag out. That's what I do every day, Charlton.
That's beautiful.
I put that bag out every day not because I'm privileged, but I've been blessed to be able to live a decent life, Charlton. Athletics provided a lot of that for me, just as well as many other present and former professional athletes who do the same thing that I do. Not do it on a more grander scale, but anything helps, Charlton.
That is what we talk about, being an angelic figure. So how many people have seen an angelic person in your life, whether it's an athlete or it could be your grandparents? It could be your mother, it could be your father. An angelic person is someone that shows up like an angel. And you don't know why you meet them all the time, and sometimes we don't understand why our grandparents did such great things for us, and our mothers, and our fathers and siblings. We don't always know why, but they did it out of the kindness of their heart. So how many people that follow Big C Sports can just do something of gratitude? I know you want to see who won the game. I know you want to talk about what millionaire made another basket or hit a home run or scored a touchdown. We know that's what a lot of people are brainwashed to think. But if you have the blessing to have your grandparents and your parents still around, pick up the phone and tell that angelic person, I love you, how you doing, and then tell them follow Big C Sports. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, we might have to talk a little slower.
Yeah.
In some of the things we talk about, we get too many great-grandparents on the show.
Yeah.
But, I appreciate any age of our listening audience, Charlton. And I respect the elders that we have in our society.
Yep.
Because I was told as a young man, you don't get old by being no food, okay?
Yeah.
You honestly don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young people that did not get to that point in life. So you have to appreciate and respect the elders in society, and that's something we don't have enough.
Yeah.
And I think about our league. The NFL, how it does not respect the elders enough in the former NFL players that laid their lives on the line. We hear every day, even when it came out to study a couple days ago, Charlton, about youth football and CTE.
Yeah.
Think about those older players, Charlton, that did not have the helmet technology that you have today, that you could hit a player any kind of way.
Yep.
The head slap was very prevalent in the 70s with defensive linemen, hitting offensive linemen in the head all the time. And Deacon Jones used to say, well, it just rattled their brain.
Yeah.
And so they didn't know which way to go because you were slapping them upside the head.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so, you think about the kickoff that they're talking about abolishing now in the NFL.
Yeah.
And, as many players lost their careers playing on kickoff teams. The shortest NFL career, Charlton, is 7.5 seconds by a former member of the St. Louis Cardinals, Charlton, when they were still in St. Louis.
Wow.
He destroyed his shoulder on a kickoff. His career was over, 7.5 seconds.
Well, that's amazing.
And so when you think about that, there was nothing done for him when his career was over.
No.
Back in those days, back in the 70s. That was just it. He had to go try to figure out another life to live, another way to earn an income. But, the NFL, regardless of what it has done, it cannot do enough for the former players, Charlton, that are suffering from all their agonizing injuries that they suffered during their careers.
Yeah.
And so it would be amazing if the NFL stepped up out of this $8 billion last television contract they had and said, well, $1 billion would have been decent for us to give to these former players, and maybe not even enough.
Yes.
But our owners in the NFL are concerned about how much money they can make and not about the players over time.
There was that story that you told about Warrick Dunn, and we're asking people, who are the angelic people in your life? Sometimes you just meet them by passing. You get on the highway, they're getting off the highway, and you on a different exit, but you see them. So Warrick Dunn's mother and what she meant in his life and what he's done. See, I want to acknowledge people like him because we know Ali fed a lot of people. And Warrick Dunn to do the housing thing for people and not necessarily talking about how to build walls to keep people homeless or to send them back to some place where they're starving to death. And we try to make it about what color they are. They don't try to keep white people out of the United States of America. You can Google that, okay? Now, when I think about what Warrick Dunn is doing, I applaud him. He's an angelic figure. He's not just an athlete. He's a black angel. I think about someone that we always close the show with, Big C, as I love to hear your final thoughts on shows before we close out to the universe. We always reference the great late Drew Bundini Brown. He's Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he was what some people call a seer, a person who believed in putting things forward into the future and giving people the chance to hope and believe again. So he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? He was an angelic figure. He pumped hope into Ali. He pumped hope into people even like me, and I never met the man, but I love saying that because some little kid, boy or girl, somewhere in this universe, they have an angelic voice. And if it's Big C Sports, God bless them. We could all use the grace of God. We know that. But I hope that people recognize there are angels that roam around this universe, and sometimes you meet them. They're the people that don't let you starve. They give you a hand out as opposed to locking you out and building a wall. Big C, that has to get some type of reverence in the universe. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we speak about Warrick Dunn, but there's many other athletes. There's a player that I won't mention his name because he doesn't want his name to be known, but he has a program called Moms for Cars.
Yeah.
What he does is he takes single moms who have decided to go back to continue their education in college. If they maintain a certain GPA, he will get them a quality pre-owned car. And he'll make the payments as long as they maintain that GPA, Charlton.
That's beautiful.
You think about that. You're giving a woman inspiration to aspire to be better. Many times what people lack in our country, Charlton, is transportation.
Yes.
And everyone doesn't live on a public transit line. And so when you think about a lot of these young mothers the thing that holds them back from employment and education is transportation.
Yes.
But he set up this program. If you maintain a certain GPA in school, which is a B average, that he set up, he will provide you with transportation. He makes the down payment and he makes the monthly payments until you graduate, as long as you maintain this B average, Charlton.
Yeah.
You think about the inspiration that provides an opportunity for a young woman to make life better for herself and for her family. This is what athletes do. This is what the public doesn't hear. They want to hear about an athlete getting a DUI, being arrested on domestic violence, or any other thing, Charlton. But athletes are great people. Former athletes are great people, Charlton. They do so much for society. We don't hear about our senators, our congressmen going out setting up these programs, yet they're living off the American dollar.
Yeah.
And doing very little to benefit underprivileged Americans. Yeah. Athletes, it has been left upon athletes, seems like by society, to help out those who are less privileged. And many athletes who have come from less privileged situations in life, Dalton, feel that it's a rite of passage for them to help others. They really don't feel any hardship in doing it. They do it from the goodness of their heart.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not mentioning his name, because he doesn't want recognition for what he does, Charlton. He just wants these people to have a better life, because that's the situation he came up in. Did not have transportation as a young man. He had to rely on city transit.
Yes.
His mother didn't get a chance to have the education because she was a young mother with him. And he made this vow that he would help as many young mothers as they could achieve beyond where his life started at.
That's a very good point. I remember as a J.J. Watt, the Houston, played for the Houston Texans, and when they had the flood last year down, the hurricanes and the flooding down in Houston, and he raised, I think it was like $27 million or more, not he by himself, but he and a lot of other athletes. He was more, out in front with his name, etc., but there were a lot of people, Big C, that contributed to helping people who were displaced by an act of God, not because they did something wrong. They just, Mother Nature showed up and it took over where it naturally was. And the hurricane and the flooding, it claimed what was theirs. But people helped out all over the country. That's an angelic person. I'm not saying he's an angel. I don't know the man, but I'm saying people do angelic things. So whether you meet someone in passing, it could be someone. I'll never forget. I got to tell this one story. Oh my God, I just had an epiphany. There was a time where I had my family up in Yosemite, and we were driving in Yosemite, and for some reason my son threw up in the car. Now maybe I was going around the roads too fast, but I wasn't going that fast. But as a little boy, Big C, and I kid you not, this is Yosemite, California, out here in the Sierra Nevada mountains, one of the wonders of the world. Coming around one of the mountains, my car battery died. I'm thinking, why would my car battery die? It's a new battery. And long story short, we were about to get on this windy road where it's a one-way road, and you really don't have anything other than the mountain and the 400-foot drop. Well, my car battery died right before we got on that windy road that went about a good 3 miles. And I'm thinking, what in the world would this happen for? I'm about 2 hours from home. Well, I was able to get it to start again slightly, and I drove down the hill, and it was about to die again, I could tell. I spotted a light to my left. I'll never forget it. I went down there hoping there was some people that could help me. It was a police station. Okay, sitting in that parking lot all by itself was an old van, like a Beatles van back in the hippie days, Big C. There was this young Caucasian couple. Okay, this is about 10 years ago. I'll never forget, it was about 10 o'clock at nighttime. My phone service wouldn't work because they didn't have reception. So that young couple was sitting in the parking lot of that station. I walked up to the young man and I said, excuse me, but my car battery just died. Would you have a cell phone I can use? My phone's not working. He said, no, I don't have a service either. He walked with me about maybe not 3 miles, but about 300 feet to another house that was out there by itself. There happened to be 2 people there from the Bay Area. They let us use a landline. Long story short, we called the AAA and they helped us get some help. They towed us home. Now, I'd never seen those people in my life, but they were angelic. I know people have those stories. Big C, without those people, I had no way to get my family home. I've never seen those people again. They were a young couple, and they were from New York City. They were not in Yosemite. Long story short, we have angels in our lives. Who can you be an angel to? And I want see sports to be the angel for the young person that's tired of watching jocks on TV fight about who won the game, what's the score of the game, and Big C, that has to hit home to a lot of people. Before I get your thoughts, I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation of this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you at 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C, the stories that you told, and we all have those stories. I wish I could pick up the phone and call those people, but I don't have their name and number. But I know they were there like an angel that popped out of the heavens. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, everybody can look at some point in their life, and they may not realize it when it happened, but how much somebody meant to them, a stranger, that touched their lives and helped save their lives to a degree. And we all have those stories. I can think about back in my youth when I had a similar situation happen to me. But, you know, what we're looking at is how many people are willing to help people in life. Sports helps so many people emotionally. When you look at it, you can be downtrodden and depressed. Your favorite team can come on, and it's very uplifting because it takes you away from what's bothering you in life and in society.
Yeah.
Is if you have this opportunity to embrace and enjoy. That's what sports does. You know, that's the reason why it's become such a billion-dollar industry, Charlton.
Yep.
Because so many people are involved in it, and sponsors have found a way to make money off of these viewers.
Yeah.
But when you think about the diehardness, Charlton, I mean, sports is big here, but think about in Europe, and you talked about Australia. Think about the soccer and rugby teams in those countries, Charlton, where, you know, we talked about Canada with the Raptors.
Yeah.
How an entire country follows a basketball team. And we think about European soccer, Charlton, where on a weekly basis, not just a 15, you know, not an 8-game schedule, but a 30-game home schedule where these people put 50 to 70,000 people in a stadium.
Easily.
Week in and week out because they live. I mean, it separates cities, Charlton, completely. You know, where people live and die for the sports. Everything that they do is resonated off of that, Charlton.
Yes.
But, you know, so many of these people bring inspiration to their communities. Even the most downtrodden fan socially in life, Charlton, has an uplifting when he gets a chance to see his favorite team.
Well, you know, and speaking of that, before we touch on a little bit of sports, I really want Big C Sports to be able to reach out to the young people all over this country and all over the universe. I really want that from the bottom of my heart, Big C. We're not fake. We're not reading scripts. We speak extemporaneously. And for the young people that are inspired by that, when I hear the voice of Drew Bundini Brown, it inspires me to light a fire into a young kid's heart and help him understand you don't have to be a millionaire to be significant. Everybody wants to be significant. I gotta talk about these angels that I keep dreaming about. And I want to reference something because you can't follow everybody because they're famous. Some of them, they don't mean anything good for you. They just want to get that corporate paycheck. And there was a gentleman on a well-known musician by the name of Kanye West. I'm not slamming him. I'm just saying be careful who you follow. And here's a man that was on a program, and I'm glad he was chastised and put in place by one of the hosts. He was on TMZ, and he was saying that some people volunteered to be slaves. And that's one of the dumbest things I've heard. Now, he's African-American, I think. He's also a Trump supporter, so what? But the point is, he talked about some people volunteering for slavery, which was a horrendous crime, a crime committed against people. He had no idea that there had been over 250 slave revolts during that, before the Emancipation Proclamation. You want to know who a lot of the angels were? They were not just black women and men who were fighting to keep us alive so that we could even survive the Middle Passage. They were angelic figures that taught us to believe in a God, even though we come from a history of people who were enslaved, beaten, raped, murdered, pushed aside, set aside, told you don't count, and all that garbage, and we still rise. We still rise. So I'm speaking to the young person, black and white, whether Australia or America. Look at the angels in your life. Sometimes you don't see them, but Big C, they planted the seeds that we still eat today called hope. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, you speak about Kanye West. he resonates the word stupidity and dumbness altogether, Charles.
Very much so.
To sit there and say that a culture of people wish to be enslaved and tortured and beaten on a daily basis, to be deprived of basic human necessities and rights. You think about the lack of intelligence that he is spewing. And I guess it's because of the family that he's gotten into now. That he wishes to be enslaved in that family and follow the ways of that family. You know, here's a young man talking about, I'm going through plastic surgery, liposuction. That's the lifestyle of his wife. Okay, so he's been enslaved to her. And so by him being enslaved to her, here it is, he's going to have the gall to say that a culture of people wish to be oppressed. I guess Kanye West probably wished, he probably not wish, but he believes that all the Jewish people voluntarily walked into the gas chambers during World War II also. If he could say that minorities, that blacks chose to be enslaved in America, he is saying that Jews chose to walk into the gas chambers and be starved by the Germans, by the Nazis.
Yeah.
That lets you know the intelligence level of an individual of Kanye West, because he's a self-serving person trying to promote a new album that he's got coming out. You know, this is the only way he could do it is through controversy. Well, maybe people will buy my album if I create some controversy. But the name of the album should be named Stupidity.
Yeah.
And that's for anybody who buys it and anybody who supports it.
Well, if you think about, if you have a newborn child, a child that's birthed into this beautiful universe of life, who would feed it poison? I mean, that poison might come with a pretty face. It might come with a nice beat in the background, hip-hopping, shucking and jiving, making you dance. Who would feed their kid poison? I mean, poison's not just something you drink in your body. Poison's something you feed your ears. I mean, the only way it gets into your body is through your ears. You can't drink some poison. It's invisible. Just like angels are invisible. So be careful when you're buying something for your kids to consume. Sometimes it's poison. Big C, I want to touch on the beautiful things that happen in the world of sports. You know, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I know I've been talking about singing old Canada. And I know there's some good old boys that had a little bit of controversy. Drake, and there's somebody that's on the staff for, I think, Persons for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they had a little beef.
Kendrick
Perkins. Now, people beef. People have their own misgivings. People say what they want to say in a heated moment.
But think about this, Charles.
Yeah.
We talked about this in yesterday's shows. Fans crossing over the line.
Yep.
Drake crossed over the line.
He crossed over.
You have no right to get into it with a player.
Yep.
Don't give a damn about you buying a courtside seat.
Nope.
We talked about this, about with Westbrook getting into it with a fan. So why do you give Drake a pass because he's a multi-talented and financially successful entertainer?
You should apologize.
You only bought the seat. You didn't buy the right to get into a beef with a player.
Yep.
Sit there and shut your butt up. If you're not singing a song, shut up.
I tell you.
But, here it is. You're trying to be seen all during the game anyway. You're trying to get airtime.
Yep.
But now you're trying to get even more airtime after the game. When we talk about fans should be banned for arena,
yeah,
it doesn't make any difference about your celebrity status. You fall into that category because you're just a damn fan.
And I tell you what, is people say, well, this is all about the truth. And if he's honest with himself, he knows he crossed the line. I don't care how many songs he sings and how many records he sells. A real man can apologize when you make a mistake. Not say, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? A real person apologizes. You show contrition. And I think that should be coming not just privately but publicly. Big C, I do want to touch on the thinking of what is Toronto thinking right now. You know, we talk about, oh, Canada. And I think about LeBron James, the guy that drinks the vibranium honey. He must be drinking that vibranium still, because he plays like he's out of this universe, like he's really a brother from another planet. There was a movie about that back in the day, Big C. But his leadership, his moxie, we talked about the angelic figures. There are kids all over this universe. I'm not saying worship anybody. I don't worship anybody, Big C, and I'm not telling any kid to. But when you can take someone who can perform like LeBron James, and you go into an NBA Finals, and you have somebody that can go outside of this country and lead that team into the promised land of Toronto, the team that has the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and you rip their hearts out right in front of Drake and the home fans. What has LeBron James done to be the angelic figure to some little kid who wants to keep his hope? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it starts right there, Charlton. 9-2 versus Toronto in the last 11 games that you played against. It gets cold in Canada, I believe, in the wintertime, doesn't it?
I believe it does.
We're approaching spring and summer.
Yeah.
But last night, the Raptors' butt was tight as a frog in a snowstorm. Okay?
And you would know, Big Z.
They played like baby dinosaurs, not Raptors. They played like baby dinosaurs last night.
Yeah.
They were still trying to figure things out.
Yes.
But LeBron has this thing that in athletic analogy calls he's made them punks. Okay?
Yeah.
That's an athletic analogy. And all athletes and former athletes know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is that when he walks into the room, you know how you will stare somebody down? You ever see boxers before a match starts?
Oh, yeah.
MMA fighters?
Yeah.
How they get there and stand and stare eye to eye?
Yeah.
When LeBron walks on the court, watch the Raptors, Charlton. They all start looking like they dropped a quarter on the court. They start looking around.
Yeah.
They don't stare LeBron in the eye. They just hope that he takes it easy on them.
Yeah, I tell you, we talk about the lions going to hunt. You know, a lion is the king of the jungle. And when you look at people, there are lions, like we have angels walking around the earth. There are lions. There are people that when they show up, they're dominant. I remember being able to get into the octagon with a Hall of Fame MMA fighter. And it was just for exhibition. And I said to him, so look, how many rounds are you going to let me win? And he said, none. So Big C, he wanted me to sign a waiver because he couldn't control what he did in his domain. Just like a lion. You don't get in the lion's cage and say, lion, can you let me win because people are watching. That lion's not going to let you win, Big C. So I came to my senses and I said, okay, well, I don't want to participate, Big C. I didn't get punked, but I came to my senses, Big C, because I wanted to be able to talk when I was finished talking to him. But long story short, he's a lion. And he's a lion because people follow him. And there are men in life and women too. We talked about them. They exist just like angels exist. People follow them. I'm not saying that he's an angelic person, but I'm saying the hope that it gives people who may be a little bit downtrodden, not just from Akron, Ohio area, but hope for people who believe that here's a guy that wears a big C on his shirt, Big C, and he shows up and says, I know this team winning or losing is up to me. That's not being ego. That's saying that every king has to take ownership of being the king. And not only does he do that, he pulls grown men to follow him. Big C, that's an angelic feat, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's done it for so long. And what he does is he's self-motivating. He's self-promoting. He challenges himself. All athletes can't challenge themselves every night.
No.
He does. He doesn't worry about his opponent. You listen to LeBron press conferences, he's very subtle and subdued.
Yeah.
He's talking about the task at hand. He's not attacking individuals.
No.
He may praise an individual, but he's not attacking them. And that's something that you get lesser athletes to do. They attack their opponents. They make snide comments about their opponent.
Yeah.
LeBron is like, I'm doing me.
Yeah.
Because as long as I'm doing me, the opponent has to keep up with me.
Yeah.
And you look at any great athlete in a performance. When you sit there and you watch a picture, we saw the young kid the other night with the Milwaukee Brewers. Faced eight batters, or 9 batters, and struck out 8. He walked 1.
Yeah.
But he was doing him. He wasn't worried about the guys at the plate. He's like, I have a spot to hit.
Yes.
Wherever that catcher's putting the glove, that's me. That's where I have to put the ball.
Yeah.
That guy standing at the plate is an inanimate object.
Yeah.
I can care less about him.
Yeah.
He was doing him. You look at the 2 baseball players today, Charlton, that hit the 3 home runs in the game.
Yeah.
First time that's happened since 2013.
Yeah, Mookie
It's only
Betts.
happened 23 times in Major League history.
Yeah.
We've had multiple players hit 3 home runs on the same day.
Yeah.
They were doing them. They weren't sitting there saying, well, I'm worried about what this pitcher's throwing. Like, I'm in my zone.
Yes.
He's coming to my house.
Yeah.
And he's not welcome.
Yep.
That was a terminology we had when we were playing. This is my house.
Yes.
And in my house, you can't act like Kellyanne Conway with your feet on the couch.
So you wouldn't let Kellyanne Conway put her feet on Big C's sofa, Big C? Is that what you're saying?
She can't put her feet on Big C's floor.
Okay, Big C, I understand. So that was Mookie Betts, and he leaves Major League Baseball with 11 home runs, and Edwin Encarnacion, 3 home runs. And that's the 15th time in Major League Baseball history that players have done that in a game. So, I mean, just there's angelic figures all over this universe, and there are people who follow athletes and believe in them. So Toronto, they fall 113, 112 in overtime to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it doesn't mean they're going to win this series, but my goodness, when you see someone put it on the line, I love that attitude. The guy fights until the very end. When we swing the ball out to the West Coast, the land of vibranium and honey, Big C. Everybody's pollinating out here in the West Coast, Big C. The Golden State Warriors, they pollinated the New Orleans Pelicans last night. A 106-101 win. They were up big, and they kind of closed the gap a little bit later to close out. But Steph Curry, 26 points. Draymond Green had 20. They played like they're the team of old. They played like they've been rejuvenated, Big C. That vibranium that they've been drinking is real, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a team that people are questioning why play Steph Curry. Well, you have to give him some minutes prior to the next round.
Yes.
But it just shows how much depth this team has, Charlton. He came off the bench, was able to pump in 26. But they have gotten under the Pelican skin. I don't know if a lot of people expected for the Pelicans to win this series. Most experts didn't even expect the Pelicans to be in this round.
Yeah.
But, they came out, and they haven't showed bad. It's just when you're playing one of the top teams, as a matter of fact, last year's championship team, you can't expect for them to just roll over. Their purpose from the start of the season was to get back to where they were last year.
Yes.
And right now they're playing on that same pace that they were last year, Charlton, as far as victories and losses in the playoffs. They've only lost one. They only lost one all of last year in the playoffs.
Yes.
This team is a complete juggernaut, Charlton. They come at you in many ways, mentally and physically. And you saw the whole package last night. They played defense. They tried to intimidate the Pelicans in many ways. They got in their face. Draymond Green did. He took a technical foul last night, Charlton. But the offensive power of this team is led by their defense.
Yeah. Yep, they are a sight to behold, especially when they wear that sea of gold. It's called vibranium yellow that they have at the Oracle Arena, Big C in California. Watch the Golden State when they play. There's a sea of vibranium yellow. I'm telling you, that stuff is real, and I think Steph Curry proved that last night. We have, NBA action is fantastic. Tonight we have Houston, number 1 seed in the West, and best record in the league. They're an 11-point favorite over the Utah Jazz. Looks like Utah kind of, they just succumbed to the Lions in James Harden. And you think about how Houston they just have that extra thing, that angelic thing where you just believe in yourself. And I think it's running strong for them. You have Donovan Mitchell, who's an amazing player, but he had 21 points in Game 1. Harden had 41 in Game 1. Give me your thoughts tonight down in Houston, great state of Texas. Does Utah stand a chance? Or are they like the gazelle when it sees the lion? They're just willing to say, okay, you eat me, but please make it fast, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, without Ricky Rubio in the lineup, they really don't have anyone who can distribute the ball properly in Utah. Donovan Mitchell was held to a playoff low of 21 points in Game 1. But you look at James Harden on the flip side, scoring 21 points, almost doubling him up. And that was the 6th time in his Rocket career that he scored 40-plus points in a playoff game, trailing only Hakeem Olajuwon. But this is a team right now, Charlton, that Houston doesn't match up with at all. What allowed Houston to get through round 1 was Rudy Gobert in the paint.
Yes.
Houston doesn't play in the paint. They don't have to play in the paint. They can play outside. They want you to come outside. They want Gobert outside to allow that opening in the lane, and that's what they manipulated against them when you saw Harden go into the hole because Gobert had to step outside the paint.
Yes.
They know how to spread and stress your defense.
Yeah.
This series should be a sweep.
So you're saying that James Harden would not allow Kellyanne Conway to put her feet on his sofa, Big C? Is that what you're trying to say, Big C?
Well, he doesn't want to get the finger dirty, okay?
That's funny. I still think about that. And speaking of of NBA. Obviously, you know, it's just a great game. Philadelphia plays Boston on Thursday, and their line is 3 points. Philadelphia's favorite. That's in Boston. And, of course, tonight we have NHL hockey. Boston's a favorite over Tampa Bay, and San Jose is favored over Las Vegas. It's hard to bet against some good old boys down in Las Vegas. They tend to have something in their vein. They got vibranium dice. I think they've been rolling down there in Las Vegas because they keep coming out winners. I do want to, before we close out the show today, and we talked about angelic figures in our lives, and I appreciate people that call your grandparents, call your parents, tell them you love them. And if you think about playing as a young child, think about when you went out to the playground and you played and you believed in miracles and you dreamed again and you heard Al Michaels give that great call of the USA, hockey team beating Russia. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, we can believe in miracles. One of the great coaches of the NBA, former player Don Nelson. Now I'm telling you, he says that he grows medicinal marijuana to help deal with his medical and pain issues that he acquired when he played NBA basketball. He learned it from the great Willie Nelson. And we're looking at this sea change of going from ignorance to science, where people are seeing that athletes are in pain and how they can use something out of Mother Earth to help heal that pain. We're not saying be irresponsible, but I hope as we start educating ourselves that we look at what people are doing who are going through a lot of pain. We talked about Kyle Turley earlier in the week. Don Nelson, same issues. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's something that society has to address. It's not just the leagues. The leagues are going to go along with societal whims. Even though we have states that possess professional franchises, in Colorado, in California, in Nevada, and in the state of Washington, Charlton.
Yeah.
The professional leagues still do not allow these drugs to be used by the citizens of those states because they say they're league bylaws. The league should govern the league, not the state. And so if a player lives and plays in those states, they should be allowed to utilize that substance because the local government, state government, is saying that it is a legal substance.
Yeah.
And yet the leagues want to play, top cop and police these guys and suspend them for something that's legal in their workplace. Think about that. It's legal in their workplace by the definition of their local government.
Yeah.
Not only that, Charlton, when you look at the state of Colorado, they started with marijuana dispensing machines.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to a dispensary. They rolled out dispensary machines, Charlton, where you can buy marijuana cigarettes just like you can normal cigarettes out of a vending machine.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, famous singer Lauryn Hill was at Cal Expo up in Northern California just this week, and they were doing some type of concert. I just want people to see the medical reasons behind it. I've known people, nurses and doctors that work in hospitals, and they're always trying to say, how do we make people safe? Doctors can be angelic. They can be that angelic angel. And sometimes they may tell someone they need a surgery when they really don't. They just need the better substances that can help their body perform better, okay? We all at some point in time need to get medical advice, and we need help. We need some type of substance to help us. So whoever that angelic angel is in your life, I hope that you pay homage to it and even be that to somebody when you get the chance to. I think that's so important. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I know everybody's excited about baseball, how it's getting off to a rolling start, and we got the NHL and the NBA playoffs, Charlton. But the real news came out today. The college football preseason top 25 came out.
Whoa, Nelly.
And would you believe, Charlton, it's identical with the top two teams to last year?
Really?
And they just happen to come from the South.
Yep.
Clemson number 1, Alabama number 2. Now, Nick never wants to be number 1 goes in.
Right.
Because he always wants somebody to lose so he can catapult up. But Clemson and Alabama right now, Charlton, are the favorites on the college football landscape.
Well, I tell you what, I think Nick Saban He's recruited so many African-American athletes. I know he knows where the vibranium is, Big C. He's been eating and pollinating that honey with that vibranium that a lot of them go to Boys Down South have. And when you want to find vibranium, remember, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old Boys Down South. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.